So I actually went to a very libertarian school from kindergarten through 12th.
Oh,
So
okay.
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I went to a school called Christian Liberty Academy,
Okay. You
and
weren't
they
joking then.
were yeah, no, they were. It was everything.
Seriously?
It was like we're gonna have a story. Like we're gonna have an entire class dedicated to the first and second Articles of Confederation that preceded
Whoa.
the U.S. Constitution,
Whoa, what a
and like
concept. First principles.
right. So we're actually learning like, well, we didn't have a central bank in this country until, and like
Ah.
here's the value of a gold standard and here's what replaced it and why. And we're going to study everyone from Mises and Hayek and all these guys, and we're going to study Keynes. We're going to like, but by the time I
That
was out of
seems
high
like fourth
school,
year economics.
well, right. So when I went to like business school and college, I'm just like, I didn't even need to go to class. Like, just give me all the tests, you know?
Exactly.
And they were really specific. Like the thing that was really great about that school too is they wanted you to um a phrase that they used all the time was called epistemological self-consciousness. And what that is to understand deeply what you believe and why you believe it over and above what you do not believe and why you do not believe it. But then it wasn't just that. They wanted you to be able to give an exposition of
Sound
that. So we
doctrine.
did we did tons of like oral reports, and we had to give like
Mm.
oral presentations, and everybody had to revolve through like debate team sort of stuff. And so the people that would graduate out of that school would show up and they'd have to do like an entrance interview at Yale, and the person there would be like, Jesus, like what are you, a lawyer? You're 18, right? You know, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I know my rights, and here's why. And actually I read this and that, and
It,
it's this
it's the
ability
Socratic
to
method.
it is 100% the
The
Socratic method.
dialectic. Yeah.
Yes. Which is what I bring up all the time on Twitter. You know, people start talking things, and I'm like, okay, so you're taking a Hegelian worldview, and this is why you have ended up in this camp. And they're just like, don't start calling me.
Right.
I'm not a communist. It's like,
Yeah.
no, like you
Uh,
don't know you're a communist, but you are actually.
it's that it's so interesting um that people expect the school to teach them this stuff. And I'm not sure
Mhm.
if school is, I mean, it sounds like if you went to your school, they were prepared to teach it, but I'm not sure if teachers are prepared,
No.
right? It's not out of
Well,
scope.
you wouldn't learn any of this stuff if you were like an education major and things like
No.
this is very special information that, you know, to me it was passe. I didn't realize because I didn't go to another school my whole life. I
Mm,
actually grew up in the hood. I was with a bunch of people that
okay.
didn't really have an education very
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah,
and then I was educated at this school, so that was like my
yeah.
exposure to
Yeah.
like, you know, I got this group of friends at home whose parents are in jail and they live with foster
Right. Yeah,
parents, you know,
yeah,
all these
yeah,
different
yeah.
things.
Same with
And then
me.
I go to this school where it's like, oh, you know, my dad is general counsel at a Fortune 500
Yeah,
company,
you're like
and I'm
Stringer Bell,
here, and
kind of.
right, you know, so I had a foot in both worlds
Yeah,
very early.
yeah, me too.
And so all that to say that, you know, when did I get into sound money politics? I actually don't remember a
It
time
was
when I
always,
didn't.
it was always there. So it's funny. It must be
Mhm.
like speaking to kindergartners when you speak to them about economics. Because I mean, I think that's Daniel. Daniel is just like me, so is I'll say hi. Let me type a message to you while he joins in. That I won't. Can you see something? There you go. You can see that. So, um, I am fortunate because both my parents were teachers in
Mm,
Guyana, where they beat you up if you don't
okay.
know the answer.
Mm,
Um, and so I had two schools. I had the school at home, right? And then you had the school at school. And it was either I was in the wrong, because I was in a business grad, but I didn't want a business degree. I just figured they treat teachers like shit in this country. You know what I mean? And so I was like, well, what can I do? Well, I'm not smart enough to do sciences, so I guess that leaves business. Right? That was basically the extent of it.
it's
Um,
funny.
but this these they forced us to read Marx. They forced us to read everyone, Veblen, everyone, and it's the most
Mhm.
difficult thing to read because it's like reading Shakespeare but economic theory and with a bit of lambda calculus. Literally, in Marx's case, it's lambda calculus he was using,
Right.
and it was. But to understand things from that ground perspective of this is how price fetishism works. You start with equating an apple and an orange, and then an apple
Mhm.
to money. And then when you compare oranges, not to the apples, but to the money, all I have to do is increase
Mm.
the value of the apple. And you might think you need to give me more oranges. And I was like, oh no, this is like literally the calculus he ran through. So when you look at um, the Bitcoin civil war, you're coming into blockchain and Bitcoin having essentially had a masterclass in how policy and political policy and monetary policy are cousins, having a
Mhm.
dance together, right? So, what bridged that gap between cybersecurity and this whole world that combines your IT and your
Mhm.
childhood education and then your business savvy?
Sure.